Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. We had a very busy weekend over at our Discord, and for those who missed it, we did a starter deck tournament with some prize support from Wizards of the Coast. Very, very cool. Congrats to Roxora, who won. If you're not familiar with Roxora, he's been streaming up a storm, I think, on this game for quite a while. So definitely check him out. Roxora. Roxora, and it was a ton of fun to run a tournament. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to have more events over there. But that I will probably maybe dive into a little bit more in another video. Today, I just kind of wanted to capture a bit of my climb toward Mythic. I thought about, running my old Nissa build and running some of my favorite meta builds, but I really wanted to get to know these new planeswalkers, and I am just going to do a video here today on Garruk. I do have some ideas for Davriel, but I can't really get a sense of if the deck is strong enough or consistent enough. I think I would say consistent, because the deck can be very, very strong with Death Shadow in some of the combos that you're able to do. And I think there are a lot of different ways, obviously, you can build Davriel. And so it's kind of on my back burner right now. I think Garruk, I have a little bit more of a sense of how he operates. He really reminds me of Jund. So for those who, Magic players, you'll kind of know, I think, what I'm talking about. But for those who have never played Magic the Gathering or don't have a lot of experience with it, Jund, which is a black, red, green combination deck, in Modern, which was a lot of the cards that I first played with, 16, almost 17 years ago now. Basically, the entire object of the deck was to have the most kind of efficient, just generally good, powerful cards, right? It had solid removal, solid creatures, solid card advantage. They also had ways to disrupt your opponent. And Garruk kind of reminds me of that, because the signature cards that he has, especially the, let's just hop over to the deck so y'all can peruse while we're working on it. The signature cards, specifically Wildspeaker's Fury, which is just one of the most efficient removal spells in the game, and is very easy to set up, on a low toughness creature where you give it the axe, kills it off, right, and it's not a huge cost. You get to Wildspeaker's Fury for free. Now, the main attraction I feel for this card right now is Death Shadow, right? There aren't a lot of great answers to that, besides Day of Judgment, besides Path to Exile, and maybe those cards will come back into favor, because as we see more Death Shadow, we can't just be relying on Lava Wave to do the job anymore. And I think Wildspeaker's Fury is just a really solid removal spell. And then we got to talk about the other really good removal spell, which is Veil Curse Predator. This thing is definitely performing, I think, the way I had hoped it would, which is on average, getting you a 2-for-1. And sometimes you just play it as a bigger, stag, right? I think it's, I forget, something Crown Stag, which is a 3-4 fight something when it comes into play. Sometimes you play it, it kills their 3-power creature, and then you've got a 5-1 left, and it's fine. But I think often you are able to get 2-for-1s, 3-for-1s, and it just allows you to kind of have this almost like a mini board wipe, in a sense, against certain decks. And it's just really hard to play around that. And I think just with the combination of our build with Grudge Match, Wildspeaker's Fury, Daybreak Ranger, Veil Curse Predator, right? You just have access to a ton of removal and interaction with your opponent. And so it reminds me of Jund in the sense that you're playing just like really good removal, really efficient, kind of card advantage creatures, and then you've got just some powerful stuff to do in the late game. And so this is the build that I've been running so far, and I've been finding a bit more success with. My teammates over at MTG SS, shout out to them. They've been really cooking up stuff in the lab, and I'm interested to see where they go. A lot of them have already hit Mythic. I've been taking it a little slow. My first couple games of the season were yesterday, so we're doing okay, but we're definitely just taking it slow and trying to learn the new decks. Spent a little bit of time on Davriel today, but I'll kind of explain like why I started with this shell. And I think the main shell I wanted to play was Woodland Hermitage, because it just is such a great card advantage engine in the green decks. Channeler of Might, which has just been kind of an all-star early game card for all the green decks. Birds of Paradise, I went on and off of, but I'm back on it. I'm back on Birds of Paradise and Primeval Titan. I just really, really like to have these cards in my green deck because Birds of Paradise often just saves you some life, right? It gets to block something. It gives you a gem, and I think because we're playing Hermit of the Flock and Daybreak Ranger, it just makes sense to have those extra fragile mana gems lying around. And I do find that Birds of Paradise is still impactful enough. And honestly, what it does well is you can give it the axe, right? On turns where either, or mostly you want to use Wild Speaker's Fury and not take damage. But also you can sacrifice Birds of Paradise to Krav. My thinking for Krav was I just want to play as many creatures in the deck that are not susceptible to Lava Wave and also just have very high stats. And right, he's got Trample. So let's say you kill something right as you play it, right? You know, sacrificing your Birds of Paradise or a Sheep token. It's coming in and you can immediately make it a 9/6 Trampler if you want to, which I think is fine. I think that's pretty powerful. Again, like 1-for-1 removal can, you know, do okay against this deck, but overall you've got some really good card advantage. So you've got this kind of green shell of Channeler of Might, Birds of Paradise. Grudge matchup just tended to be pretty high on. I just find that it's just a cheap interactive spell and that it really can make a difference in a lot of games. Hermit, Daybreak Ranger as the Werewolf package in green, Primeval Titan, and then you'll see we got Craterhoof in here as well. I'm not sure we need Craterhoof, but I will say the interaction between Craterhoof and Veiled Predator, right, is pretty nice, right? Being able to pump your Predator so that it becomes a 7/6 when it fights can be really awesome. It is a little bit, I would say, like more on the win more side, right? Like you're probably ahead if you're doing that. But I do think Craterhoof, we still tend to go a little bit wide with this deck, and landing a Craterhoof in the mid to late game could still be really, really impactful. So that's kind of our green package, and so I was asking myself, what black cards do I want to play? And I think right now the only 4 black cards in this deck are the 4 black, or I guess technically 6. I was skipping Dead-onator there. But I would say the most powerful being Death Shadow, Kothafed, right? And, of course, Blood, Queen Drana, which I think we talked about in the video earlier would be very good. Dead-onator, I think, has performed pretty well. There's a lot of early action, especially from Davriel, and Dead-onator helps with that. And if you're running Death Shadow, Dead-onator kind of just, like, gives you a bit of a payoff, right? Because it's usually going to 2-for-1, or at the worst, at 1-for-1s and deals you 4, and then Death Shadow is a little bit cheaper. Sorry, I'm fighting some allergies right now. So, why are we playing Death Shadow? I think we're in a really interesting place with the meta, and because both, you know, Davriel and Garruk are black planeswalkers, and Davriel specifically works really well with Death Shadow, I think I was just open to trying it. And Death Shadow, it's just a huge, huge creature, right? And we've got even Overrun, right, to make it even more scary. But I really like Death Shadow because you can play very aggressively in the early game, right? Maybe you don't even trade off certain creatures, you just take damage to the face. And then you just play a Death Shadow at some point, and unless you're playing against Garruk specifically, or decks that are running, you know, Flagrant Foul, which, you know, it's here and there sometimes, Death Shadow just hits the board, and it just stops what your opponent's doing in a lot of ways. And I've just found that kind of in this Jund style way, like, you're playing some of the best, like, the best and kind of baddest creatures in the format. You know, Primeval Titan, Kothafed, Krav, Death Shadow, Craterhoof Behemoth. There's just a lot of, like, late game power. And yes, you're going to hit some kind of brick hands where you have Death Shadow in your hand. But even when I've had that, I've just kind of played the game as kind of aggressively with my life total as possible, and then just dropped some Death Shadows. And I had a turn where on turn, I think it was like 7 or 8, I just went double Death Shadow because they cost 3 or 4 mana. And, you know, my opponent couldn't do anything. So, do I think this is the best build? It's way too early to tell, but I'm definitely positive with it so far. And I think I'm really happy with the card choices so far. Also, Gluttonous Goo, I did overlook this in my last build, and I think the card just does quite a lot of work, especially when you're running an overrun in your deck as well. So it's really easy to get these super huge creatures on the board and then just run over your opponent. But also Cursebearer, I've been pretty happy with. It usually eats an early removal spell, and it's not hard to set it up to be a 3/4, especially when you've got Grudge match early. And Drana's been a real threat, so I've been really, really happy with that. So without further ado, I think let's just jump into some games and see how it plays. And I hope everyone is having fun with the new Planeswalkers. Part of the reason why I wanted to run one of the new Planeswalkers on my climb to Mythic is I just was really, really bored with the meta. I just don't know if I can go right back to Nissa after playing over 100 games last season with it. Alright, Limits 787, what's up, man? They were in the tournament, and I think Limits was one of the first people to hit Mythic this season. So let's see how their Davriel build does. The new Planeswalker matchup. I will say, having access to Wildspeaker's Fury, our 3-mana removal spell, is really, really important in this matchup to deal with their Death Shadow. Alright, definitely going to ship Death Shadow back. You just don't want this in your opening hand. It's pretty much a dead card. Drana's good. Grudge Match is good. I mean, if we could get a 2 or 1 drop, that would be great. Croft. Not the best. But we're on the play, so at least in that sense, you know, we get a couple draws. Hopefully we'll find something early. Okay, Dead-onator's not a bad one. What's up, Limits? It's funny, I think we played either today or yesterday. Yep, and so this is probably the best thing you can do on turn 1, right? You run the Westvale Abbey, deal yourself a damage, right? And then you get to play your 3/3 Trampler for 1, which is definitely a very solid play. And for those who haven't played, you can just pay 1, activate this once per turn. Sorry, you don't pay 1, you just activate it only once. And you can give something +1, -1, or if something died, +2, -1. And right now, Night's Whisper is bugged, so it's dealing 4 damage. It's counting it as an outside card, which is not correct. Interesting, running Counterfeiter. Okay, I can see that being decent. So, to be the most mana efficient, I think it's just going to be Drana here, and I'm just happy to attack in with our Dead-onator. Yeah, there could be a consideration to Grudge Match something, like Grudge Matching here. It is pretty tempting, but I think either way I'm going to attack first and see what happens. So I can try and prevent them from snagging a card here in Grudge Match. I could also Wildspeaker's Fury, but that's definitely a little too aggressive, I think. I think this is good enough that I want to do this. I don't love kind of doing that because I'd rather play out Drana, but I also really don't want to... Oh, that's pretty good. Bolt is not bad. Okay. Okay, Birds is not a bad draw. And I think... So we could either go Krav or Drana here. I think I'd like to keep my Fragile Mana Gem. So we'll take another 3, and then we'll try and get Drana going. Take down. Very good removal from our opponent so far. Okay, Mana Surge. It's a 5. We're going to see a Death Shadow? No. Krav. Okay. Sacrificing this? No. That makes sense. Oh, I'm glad we have the Wildspeaker's Fury. Definitely just got to take 3 here. So we've got some options. Obviously, if we want a Wildspeaker's Fury this, we could sack the bird. We could also just play Kothafed as a 12-12 and try and win the game. And I think for the position we're in, I think I'd rather do that. If they've got the Flagrant Foul, it sucks. But we're pretty behind. Even if we play Croft to match them, they can have removal. And if we bought Speaker's Fury here, I think we're just going to be very, very behind. So I'm just going to go for the play here. And if they've got a way to answer it, they do. But I think this is our best chance of winning this game. If they have the removal spell, we probably lose. But the fact that they're hesitating is good, hopefully. But, yeah, you can see how Davriel can really accelerate the pace of the game pretty quickly. Okay. I think we yep. Alright. Wow. Whew. GG, friend. I mean, that just came down to that turn. That was it. Wow. Alright. Happy... Oh, man. This animation is just... It's a lot. It's a lot. Well, you can definitely see the early, like, accelerated power of Davriel there. It definitely was making us sweat there. But I think, you know, we did have some interaction, which was good. I think if I didn't have Kothafed there, I think I just have to go... It's really close. I guess I would have to Wild Speaker's Fury. Sack my birds to kill Croft. We would take 3. We'd be hugely on the back foot. And probably lose that game. So Kothafed, I think, was probably one of the best cards we could have played to actually have a shot at winning that game. Okay, I like Daybreak Ranger. But I like Goo because it's going to let Channeler might be a 3-3. So I'm just going to ship both of these back. Okay, we've got some stuff to do. What a game. Well, I haven't played against Sarah much this season yet, so we'll see. I mean, I feel like we should be pretty good. I mean, we've got a lot of removal, pretty good amount of card advantage, so I think we'll be all right. Okay, gotta look out for that Divine Smite now. Opponent's developing pretty nice board so far. Okay, so if they draw the Divine Smite, this is dead. As much as I hate passing the turn, I really want to keep this Fragile Mana Gem. It is going to suck if they just go Divine Smite off the top. And then next turn they can go Aura of Courage, but okay, that's fine. That's fine. At least I can block here if I need to. Okay. Alright, well, that I'm okay with. I think I'd rather get the shield off there. I don't really know that it made sense for our opponent to do that. Okay, now we can play Flock, and we can either go Goo next turn, or then Hermit, and flip, like double flip, which could be good. We get to keep this gem for both Daybreak Ranger, and if we want to play a Behemoth ahead of curve. So, not too bad. Okay, they're going to be able to Divine Smite most things here. I'll just block here, get the armor off. I don't really want to give up either of these because they can still trade for something. And I think I'd rather just take a creature off the board here if I can. And I think the way I want to sequence this, I think I am going to go Goo here. So it also can't be targeted. And then next turn when they make the Angel, we'll just play Daybreak Ranger and fight it. So this is probably going to be Divine Smite here. I mean, Divine Smiting this is definitely reasonable. Oh, Sigarda. Okay. Yeah, fully on the flyer package, so these Daybreak Rangers are going to come in handy for sure. Yeah, so we obviously first have to Daybreak here. Let's just get our attack in. Yep. Gets a double flip here. Just feels like we're playing good old green. Good old green werewolves. Yeah, I mean, I just love this card. Daybreak Ranger is just so good. It does get to kill this. Alright. Yeah, not bad. Taking some damage in the air here. Ooh, Bear is cool. I think I'm down to trade these off, so just get in here first. See what our opponent wants to do. It's a reasonable trade, just take 7. Okay. I like that they're trading their creatures off like pretty early. I do want to play, it would be nice to play Bear here, but I just have to guarantee that I kill something here. Do I want to move the axe? I don't think so. One of the things I've been learning about Garruk is, like, the axe is not a huge part of what you're doing, I feel like. But it's just, it's a bonus, right? And you don't really want to put your creatures -1 toughness in a lot of situations. But then, the situations where your opponent has no creatures, or you have a trample creature, right? It's, like, pretty easy to, yeah, I'm going to take this trade here. Especially with Second Son, I do want to keep my life total somewhat high. Okay, Predator's probably going to come in handy. So here, now we can do it, I would say. So, here I'm just going to say, okay, I just want to hit for more damage. It's going to be pretty hard for them to Divine Smite. It's got at least 3 toughness. Get to flip, gain 4 life here. That's not too bad. And we've got Craterhoof next turn. So if something dies and then we just get to play Craterhoof, buff our whole team, that's going to be pretty nice. Okay, Knight. Yep. Thank God it's this card and not the other ones. Provoke. Sure. Yeah, that is a pretty weak turn. And just from here on out, we're just going to beat down. So that's pretty tough for our opponent. Now, if they Wrath, okay, they Wrath, but yeah. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Wow, 2 really quick wins. I think we got to do a 3rd game for y'all, because it was a little too quick. Got to keep these long, right? It's kind of the brand. We keep the videos long, LongTim, all that good stuff. I feel like that matchup would be pretty decent. I mean, we've just got so many ways to interact with our opponents. Derek Rogers! Oh, this is so great. I'm seeing so many people I know. Derek beat me in Logan's first tournament playing Teferi. So we gotta try and get our revenge here. Definitely need some early game. Grudge match is good. So I think I do need to keep it. Need to draw some... Okay, Hermit's good. This is... Death Shadow is probably the worst card to have. So we might lose off that, but... We'll see. Okay, Bear into Hermit is good, at least. Get our buff with Death Shadow against Chandra. Yeah, I don't have a good block for this, though. So, if I axe this, I open myself up to shock. And depending on what their 2-drop is, I might get to Grudge match it. I think it's close, but I think I'm okay taking the 4 here. And then if they play like some sort of like 2 or 3 power creature, maybe we get to fight it. Yeah. That does not qualify, sadly. Yeah. So let's just run out Hermit. And how do I want to play this? Next turn we're going to play Goo. Got a good block here. But we could also axe here. I think I like this better. What I'm thinking about here is trying to block here. And then maybe block sheep here. And then next turn we attack with bear and play Goo. That is rather unfortunate. Alright, I am going to block here. Take the 4. Don't love it. It's a pretty tough game here. Alright, here I'm going to offer up the trade. So I can play Goo as a 7/7 ward. Okay. Smart. Smart playing around it. I don't love our position here. maybe Predator can help us next turn, but they've got the flame shot. They get to flame shot this, and then I can trade here and I still take 5 total. Mongrel's pretty good. Alright. Well. Let's get our favorables. Take 4, go to 10. Do have Death Shadow coming out this next turn, potentially. Alright, I think that's got to be the vibe here. Death Shadow. Fight. And I'm just going to keep the toughness high. There's no reason to put the axe on this. I mean, Death Shadow in your opening hand's not what you want, but, I mean, against aggro decks, like, maybe until people are used to it, I don't know that they're going to be expecting you to just slam this. Okay, well, I think Flame Shot does kind of wreck this, but they're just dead, right? They shouldn't have anything else, I don't think. This fight's, yeah, that's GG. All right, those were some interesting games. Well, I think first game, very, very close. Second game, we're pretty much ahead the whole time. And then this game, definitely the power of Death Shadow came out. And it's so interesting because, like, decks could have been playing Death Shadow last patch, right? Like, you could have been playing Vraska with Palace, which is something I've been kind of thinking about. You could have been playing Palace in other types of decks. Let me just throw up the deck list while we're here. But, like, Death Shadow is a pretty huge problem. I mean, unless you're teching unconditional removal, which a lot of decks got used to not doing, because the only thing that really mattered was ramping and getting to Lava Wave, ramping, and I think Day of Judgment gets a bit better now because of Death Shadow. But yeah, I mean, the thing that I love about Death Shadow, specifically in this deck, and I think it kind of is similar in Davriel, is if you just play this thing and they don't have an answer, and then you've got a bunch of removal in your deck, which we do, you just should win the game, right? I mean, whether you're getting a 2-for-1 off your Veil Curse Predator, or you're using Wild Speaker's Fury, which we didn't even really get to see the power of in these games, or Grudge Match, or even Daybreak Ranger, like that turn while you play it, like it's really hard for your opponent to keep up with Death Shadow unless they have to have the spot removal on the spot there. So that's our deck for today. Stats on stats, and I've just been kind of iterating on this. I was playing a low curve version. Now I've kind of found this kind of middle ground. But so far I've been pretty happy with it. I'm still not sure if like it's a little too much to have like the Craterhoof Primeval Titan package, but I just kind of said I want to play the best green cards in the format and then play the best black cards in the format. Dead-onator and Death Shadow just play really, really well together because this drawback doesn't feel like as much of a drawback, and it's just a huge stat stick on 2 mana. And then you've got even some like diverse threats. You've got Drana, which is a flyer. You've got Krav, which has got trample. You've got Goo, which is just a big untargetable thing most of the time. You've got Koth, you've got Overrun, Craterhoof, and Death Shadow. There's just... What I like about the deck is you're attacking your opponent from, like, several different angles. And I've always been really high on the Birds of Paradise Primeval Titan package when you're running Woodland Hermitage. I feel like being able to play Hermitage and having Death Shadow in your deck is awesome, right? Because if it's not in your open hand, and you get to, like, turn 6 or 7, and, you know, you're battling, you're taking damage, whatever... You just up your chance of drawing a Death Shadow from your deck to then play. And to me, that seems really, really powerful. Obviously, getting Craterhoof is good. Veil Curse Predator is good. Daybreak Ranger is good, right? I mean, you just have some really like some really insane creatures that you can draw off of Hermitage that really do quite a lot, right? Like, there's not... You're not really that susceptible to Lava Wave in this deck because you've got Death Shadow, Krav, Goo, Kothafed, Primeval Titan. And once you resolve a behemoth for your hand, it's also likely that your other creatures can play over it. So it just feels like it... I mean, I don't know what my record against Nissa is. I still think it's probably a tough matchup because their card advantage is a lot better. But if they're not running Day of Judgment, Death Shadow will just win the game. And... Anyway, it's an exciting new Planeswalker. Again, at your own risk. I don't know if this is the best build, but I've just been playing this since yesterday, and we went from 1500 to 1877. I mean, I played a little Davriel today too, but these games did not go so well. So I would say generally Garruk has felt like a pretty positive win rate, and I'll probably start recording data pretty soon. But I've been very, very busy with our Discord and a lot of stuff going on, but I think we'll just wrap it there today, folks. I really appreciate everyone who's been subscribing and joining the channel. I feel like I'm even more a part of this community than I was before, which is really crazy to say because I feel like I've met so many people through this game. But now I'm adminning a Discord, ran my first tournament with my team over there at MTG official LGS Discord. I'm still working with Karma on different stuff, and like we have people streaming all the time, and Boss Blades is also, we had Boss Blades and Knight, 2 players I played against and played with who are excellent players, join our MTG SS team. So kind of out of nowhere, it feels like I'm just interacting with so many people in the community, and it's kind of a dream come true. So I just want to thank everyone so much, and let's just keep having fun. Let's bring more people to this game. Let's keep things positive. And as always, take care of yourself. Until next time.